Timelines, everybody was clustering around sometime between 26 and 28. You guys all had very, very similar dates in that range. So very chilling. Let's hope this one doesn't come to pass. But what are your thoughts?
I need to add one page got out of my final presentation I saw in your analysis. So let me just add this because it's pretty significant. And that is, I saw soldiers clutching their heads or their now. It may just be that they're listening to Kamala talk, and that's the reaction that we all have when we hear her voice. But no, seriously, they're getting hit by some EMF thing or some sonic thing, and they're like going crazy. So they're falling on the ground and they're putting their hands over their heads like stop, stop. So that was a pretty clear thing that I got. And I was redrawing my things. I forgot to put it in my. I hate when that happens.
Yeah, I didn't even catch that it wasn't in there because I go through your guys' sessions so many times when I'm
Yeah.
doing analysis. So, yeah, thank you, Dick.
So I just can't think of anything else that could cause that kind of land shrinkage and water volume increase other than a comet hitting one of the poles, North or South Pole, and melting a substantial amount of ice in a very short amount of time. Because if, let's say, if there's a nuke holocaust, we'd probably be looking at a nuclear winter, which would cause it would be cold. If it's a volcanic, massive volcanic eruptions that puts a lot of ash in the atmosphere, clouds up the atmosphere, and we get cold, and it gets colder. If a comet hits somewhere other than the caps, again, it's more than likely going to put ash and debris into the atmosphere, and that's going to block us off from the sun and make it colder. So the landmass would grow as opposed to shrink because it would be cold. It would need to be warmer for that much water to um, fill continents up like that. I mean, that would be that would be like the Great Flood. I mean, Noah's Ark level flooding.
Yeah.
So either that's not going to happen, or and we went to something else that's more relevant, maybe along the lines of a luminosity thing, or we're going to get hit with a comet in a North Pole in the next couple of years, and we're going to flood out. I mean,
I also thought about a like a pole shift, how the tectonic plates supposedly get really fluid for something like that. They kind of demonstrated a little bit in the movie 2012, right, where landmass is completely shifted on the map and all that stuff. So that was also something I was wondering if that was going to be the case when I saw the tasking document. But yeah,
yeah, I mean, the pole shift thing is kind of funny because the sun experiences a pole shift every 11 years. And all it means is that the polarity shifts. The sun doesn't turn in a circle.
hmm
I don't know if the Earth is going to spin is going to. I just don't think the Earth is going to flip over. If there's a pole shift, it's probably because the magnetic fields have shifted, and now north is south and south is north because of the electromagnetic balance between the two. I can't. I have a really hard time believing that the Earth is going to actually flip on itself with the spin and the weight of the water on the planet. I just don't. That would take so much energy to do that because the Earth isn't round; it's oblong, and it's oblong because we have a lot of water mass, and that's heavy. So to get it to flip I just can't see it happening without,
yeah.
unless a planet crashed into us or something like that. You know, I don't know, just my thoughts on that. But
Yeah, no,
it could be, gee, we just had another luminosity thing and we were like, okay, this isn't as relevant, so let's go to something that is kind of more prevalent to us.
what's interesting is the last luminosity thing that came up? You guys were all over the place. Like everybody got a different disaster, but this one, everybody was drawing and sketching very, very similar things. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's also possible that Hitomi's map that she sketched is greatly exaggerated for changes that are really going to take place. It's hard to say.
Hard to say.
I don't
Thanks,
think
Jay.
there's enough water on the planet to make everything flood to the peak of Everest. I mean, it would have to have land masses rise.
Right.
There just isn't enough water. I mean, you couldn't melt.
The map's a bit contradictory as well, because it says that it looks like America and Canada lose land because of water rises, but it also says that Australia and New Zealand become a bigger landmass, but that would mean that gets less water, not more water. So how can one part of the planet have more water and the other side of the planet have less water?
That's why I was thinking pole shift, because if the tectonic plates move very rapidly, like when they say the mountain range, the Rocky Mountain Range is a newer one, and the Appalachians are an older one. When the plates get thrown together, the mass gets
if tectonic plates move, that would happen, but not from a water event. A water event when you cause something hitting the planet to cause a flood, that wouldn't make one part flood and the other part not flood.
Yeah, but I mean, I was just waiting to see what the data said, but you guys got what you got. So
there is
was it luminosity or part of something?
I don't think so. I think we're pretty dialed in as a group to say I don't know, but there's I'll just use the word conspiracy theory loosely, but there's a theory that Russia in the 1960s started planting nuclear bombs on kill switches in the Atlantic subduction zone, which is that ridge right in the middle of the Atlantic. Using submarines, they would drop these things. So if they were to lose a nuclear war, like that last button, right as the last guy died, he could press this button and the subduction zone in the Atlantic would detonate 500 nuclear weapons and cause the Earth plates to subduct and shift. And that was something that it's fabled that they did in the 1960s, 65 years ago.
Those bastards.
Yep, they killed Kenny.
Yeah.
To me, the data seems to indicate a warlike structure, because I think Edwards and Derek seem to have kind of with the handprint kind of thing. That seems to be the kind of mechanism you'd have to be, going into a secure area to, where they'd probably release military bombs from, that kind of thing. And the rest of the data seem to be very war, man-made catastrophe related to me.
And I don't doubt that they have weapons that we just don't know about on scales that we probably can't imagine. Tectonic weapons, directed energy weapons, the rods of God we hear about. There's just stuff we don't know about that they could probably do to manipulate things that we find out.
Yeah.
Well,
It could
you
be a
can
combination.
Google.
It could be a combination of events. I mean,
some
of the data I had was no resources and sustainability. So what if there's a natural event that causes them to say, hey, why don't we just take out this whole area? We might as well just destroy this area over here.
I mean, what would happen if you put a nuke on Yellowstone, for example, with the magma and the volcano area there?
Yeah, you'd be popping the biggest zit on the planet.
Yeah. But again, in that such scenario, it would put an enormous amount of ash in the atmosphere, which would make it colder.
Well, we all drew pretty much
It seems like we almost get more questions.
Yeah.
We all drew.
If we reduce it, we all drew some kind of huge impact or an explosion.
Yeah. Dick, which one of you had the I don't know, the S7 Annex A trajectory of trajectory 1, trajectory 2, trajectory 3?
I did that.
Yes.
Yes. And then correlate that with the data that appeared to be first point of impact Iran, Turkey-ish area, and then trajectories 2 and 3 seem to come from north south. And so it makes me wonder if we're not seeing something that relates to Middle East versus an EU-centric event, but something that might have a repercussion on the Western Hemisphere in terms of like a natural catastrophe fallout of those events, right? So if there was some kind of detonation off the coast of France or Spain or Africa, or maybe even the Mediterranean or something like that, then I wonder if that could create something that caused some major impact. But then that begs the question of, well, what about the South Pacific area if we're taking Hitomi's data as gold?
What's interesting as well is we're not the only people and only group out there that have indicated a major catastrophe that's going to massively affect the globe, especially the United States, within the foreseeable future. That's what the Bigalow Institute of Robert Bigalow have been investigating and moving towards for the last several years.
Does he have a remote viewing team, I wonder?
This is where it gets complicated. He was going to do a project 6 months ago. He put out a tender for remote viewers, and I actually put in a presentation to tender for it. They put out a grant of $100,000 or so to do to set remote viewers and psychics against looking at an event that they feel is going to happen in the US in the very near future, which is catastrophic, to see if we can confirm or deny it.
Does he have any description of what does catastrophic mean to him? Does he go into any of that? Is it natural, man-made?
I don't think they go into it in detail, but it's essentially a US, but then spreads globally, but a US centric event that's pretty devastating, that they had information on psychically that's going to happen, it seems to be within the next decade.
I thought it was interesting that two of you guys put down Kamala, and we're looking at the election coming up, and there's this split in the timeline of what happens if one gets, what if one wins and what if the other wins, by whatever means.
If she wins, I will be a bit more worried about my data.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
I agree with that. If she wins, I'll say that we're closer to this potential timeline.
Yeah.
Yep. That's right.
I feel like we dodged a bullet in 2016 as well.
I agree. Yeah. Hillary was ready to go to war with Iran and Russia back in 2016. And I'm not saying that because I'm saying it because she said that.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
When Trump came into office, we were that close to nuclear war with North Korea.
Yeah.
I have insider knowledge that I can't, this is outside of this group, but it's, the intel people were very concerned about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trump saved our bacon by going and meeting with Little Rocket Man. So, well, interesting. We'll watch it happen.
Yep. Like Edward says, we got another boogeyman coming.
Right. Yeah. Man. Well, imagine, let's just say that it is, we'll look at a potential scenario here. Let's say Kamala Harris does win, and they have a war in mind, and a war does happen. I wonder if the boogeyman thing is true, would a new boogeyman suddenly arise that is now the target of that Kamala would be like, that's the boogeyman we got to go after, I wonder. Or would it just be Russia or whatever?
It's so volatile out there at the moment. It could be any one of multiple scenarios, really.
Yeah, it really could. There's quite a few out there.
a worrying amount of corroboration, I would say.
Indeed. Yeah.
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 When
looking
that
forward
when that
to
happened in
the-
in past projects, it's been, it's been quite predictive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We weren't tentative.
Yeah.
It was pretty in your face. Yeah.
And we
Yep.
got a pretty, the timeline, I mean, none of us said, 2050.
Yeah, wasn't that weird? How none of
Yeah.
us went far out. More, we
It
didn't go
was
out more than
all
like
within
5
the
or
next
6 years.
couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys
Yep.
you could have gone out as, because we never gave you a scale. We didn't say sometime in the next 5 years, what's it going to be?
Right.
You
It
could have
was an,
said
it was an
100
open,
years away.
it was an open future. Yeah.
Yeah.
It could have been any time.
You guys zeroed right in on a very narrow window.
Did the
And I was
target year have a scale? And did the start, is it present and the ending was 2030, or what was his?
There was
were
no
we-
scale provided. It was blank. It's completely up to you guys to define.
That's concerning too.
Yeah, and as I said, it's it does tally with what other major groups and people have been getting for a number of years that they're looking at as well.
Well,
Fun
we'll watch it
times.
happen.
Yes.
Interesting
From
presentation.
our future bunkers that we're going to be.
Yeah.